Close to the center of Balboa Park is the Casa de Balboa. Inside is the Museum of Photographic Arts. If you walk down the corridor on the left, you see a small cafe, which conceals a hidden secret at the end of the stairs that lead below. As we climb down, there are two signal flags, which imply what lies beneath. The San Diego Model Railroad Museum welcomes guests year-round and gives us an opportunity to take a step back in time. Why do trains make us think of a better time or a better place? A train itself seems to embody an escape from the world and yields the promise of a new beginning. Why do trains have the power to hold our fascination and take us not only on a journey across the landscape of the earth, but also across the inner terrain of our imaginations? Is it the nostalgia of traveling at a slower pace in an older world, or the allure of riding through the countryside to embark on a grand adventure? Trains function just like any other form of transportation. To get from one place to another, they pick us up at a departure point and drop us off at our destination. If you travel by plane, you are almost guaranteed the fastest travel time. If you sail by cruise ship, you'll have some of the best service and room accommodations. If you drive an automobile, you have the freedom to make your own schedule. Each has its own drawbacks, too. Flying and sailing lack engaging scenery while underway. By car, you must concentrate on the traffic and road conditions. Never mind the time to look around. A train is different. It's neither the fastest, nor does it have swimming pools, deck lounges, or ice skating rinks. It doesn't allow you the freedom to drive wherever you want, whenever you want. It does, however, give riders access to see unseen parts of the countryside or inner city, with the memorable experience of taking a journey to improve one's place in life, whether literal or figurative. In the same way, model trains capture our attention through the wonder and mystery of locomotion. For the select few, they have the power to build not only a train and its tracks, but the layout surrounding the train and all the small details showing scenes of everyday life. These model railroaders get a chance to become a creator of worlds, rather than just an observer or participant. The San Diego Model Railroad Museum was officially opened in 1982 with a mission to research, collect, preserve, and present the heritage of American railroading using educational programs, displays, toy trains, and scale models of California railroads. The origin of the Model Railroad Museum comes from a series of unfortunate events that happened in the years prior. In 1962, the La Mesa Model Railroad Club was incorporated by a group of teenagers, along with support from their parents. They were housed in an old firehouse called Nebo Hall, and often surveyed real trains in person to reproduce accurate representations of the railroads and equipment in HO scale layouts. We'll talk about the different model train scales or sizes in a bit. Another modeling group called the San Diego Society of N-Scale set up in the House of Charm in Balboa Park. Their N-Scale models were roughly half the size of La Mesa's HO scale layouts and could fit more railroad into a smaller space. In 1978, arson fires consumed Balboa Park's Old Globe Theater and the Electric Building, which housed the Aerospace Museum. The losses of the indoor performance stage and the vintage aircraft and artifacts prompted the fire marshal to condemn all wooden structures in Balboa Park. This forced the Society of N-Scale out of the House of Charm. In the same year, the La Mesa Model Railroad Club lost their lease at Nebo Hall. Both clubs joined together to petition space in what is now the Casa de Balboa building of Balboa Park. Model trains have different sizes or scales. The most common sizes are listed here. For example, an HO scale train, or half O size, has a ratio of 1 to 87. This means a measurement of 1 inch on the model represents 87 inches in real life. An N-scale model has a ratio of 1 to 160, meaning 1 inch on the model represents 160 inches in real life. The largest size, called G-scale, could be thought of as garden scale, to run a model train outdoors through your garden. The museum does have an outdoor railway next to a miniature California tower. However, the display was temporarily closed. As we admire these model railroads, we can appreciate the time and effort it takes to design and build such realistic layouts. What are some of the skills needed to make us believe we are looking down a train track and looking above an adjacent town? Woodworking and electrical skills are required to put together the basics of a model railroad. Wood carving can be used to make figurines, buildings, landscape, or other scenery components. Knowledge of electrical wiring and soldering help to deliver power to trains or trolleys like this one, powered by overhead lines, just like in real life. Electricity can also trigger other events along the railroad, provide light inside buildings, or focus on actions of the inhabitants. According to the sign, Rudy's providing his welding services. Artistic expression is needed to style the background scenery, so it complements the foreground near the railroad tracks. The art of weathering or aging the train cars or parts of the layout, such as signs, buildings, or light posts, come into play as well. Research must be done to recreate specific scenes the builder wants and will help to make more accurate models for a prototype railroad or train. Studying real-life trains or machines also yields an added benefit of learning how things work and how they may be applied on the much smaller scale of the model railroad layout. Logical thinking and visualization are necessary skills. The former allows for planning out the path of the railroad and all of the important components that need to be placed in the localized area. The latter enables the model railroader to see the end result by envisioning how things will fit together spatially. What are some of the benefits of model railroading? Along with almost any other club or association, model railroading gives its members an opportunity for social interaction. They can share ideas and talk of layout plans, or help each other to find solutions to problems. For observers, it bridges generational gaps, as adults enjoy reminiscing about times and places in the past, while kids delight in the locomotion, movement, and novelty of the model trains. Building, assembling, and painting the tracks and scenery increase manual dexterity. Precise hand movements and manipulation of tools are used over and over, yielding practice for an individual to learn new skills and a chance for actions to be ingrained into muscle memory. Smokey Bear says, "Only you can prevent forest fires, and only you can see the artistic talent and attention to detail it takes for the creator of the model railroad to immerse us into a pine tree forest next to a small town." Their creativity helps to exhibit an authentic representation of the landscape and benefits those admiring the work to be pulled into a miniature world. By striving to recreate famous locations from the past, model railroaders learn about the history of railroads and the nearby towns and cities. For example, the whole central area of the museum is occupied by layouts that honor Caliente, California, and the Tehachapi Pass. From here, if we climb up a short flight of stairs to the highest point in the museum, we'll see a huge panorama of Kern County, located north of Los Angeles and east of Bakersfield. The area of interest focuses on the Tehachapi Mountains between the San Joaquin Valley and the Mojave Desert. In the language of the native Californians who live in this area, the Kauai Sioux, Tehachapia means hard climb. In the 1870s, the Southern Pacific Railroad Company needed a way to connect their rail lines on either side of the Tehachapi Mountains. The only option was to go over the mountain range. Certain areas showed the incline was too steep to lay track directly up, so another idea was used. The greatest engineering feat of its time, the Tehachapi Loop, would be the way to overcome the steep mountains which prevented passage of locomotives. Older freight trains could only climb a certain grade or steepness based on their power, speed, and load being pulled. A loop allowed engineers to keep the grade at a shallow 2% while maintaining a change in elevation of 77 feet. By the 1950s, the track was used by two main railroad companies, the Southern Pacific and the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. Longer trains pulling an extensive amount of train cars could negotiate the elevation change through the Tehachapi Pass, and those longer than 4,000 feet in length have their engines crossing over the rail cars at the end of the train. The Tehachapi Loop averages 50 freight trains passing through on any given day. In rare instances, passenger trains are diverted through the Tehachapi Loop, and train enthusiasts across the country flock to experience its 360-degree path climbing the Tehachapi Mountains. The model railroads show many well-known locations around San Diego. The Ryan Aeronautical Building is represented here. Ryan built many vertical or short takeoff and landing aircraft, as well as target drones like the Firebee, used for military training. Next to it is how the terminal at the San Diego International Airport appeared back in the 1930s and 40s. It was called Lindbergh Field, after the first aviator to fly solo non-stop across the Atlantic Ocean in the spirit of St. Louis. The Pacific Square Ballroom was a popular dance hall in the 1940s and was filled with the big band sounds of Tommy Dorsey, Duke Ellington, and Count Basie. Portrayed here, it has enough parking for patrons to have a car show outside and also to fill its 12,000 square foot maple dance floor. By 1984, interest in the Pacific Square Ballroom unfortunately fell by the wayside, and the building was demolished. At least it became part of the fond memories people had when attending its dances and events. The Coaster commuter rail service wasn't around in the 1940s. However, it's often seen in downtown San Diego at one of its stops near Broadway. You can see the twin spires of the Santa Fe station. Housed under its roof is the downtown location for the Museum of Contemporary Art. Just as that museum has two locations in San Diego, you can find a second layout of the Santa Fe station inside the Model Railroad Museum. The amount of detail put into each of the buildings is impressive. We almost expect to see little people walking into and out of stores. The old signage for Royal Crown Cola and Dr. Pepper bring us back in time without the need of a time machine. San Diego Harbor is portrayed as it appeared right around the time of World War II. We can see cranes and a dry dock for vessel maintenance and repairs. In front of the bridge that spans the harbor, a cargo ship is seen here at port. There's even a small canoe with two people spotting the fluke or tail of a whale diving into the depths. The meticulous attention given to the port of San Diego can be seen with the piping on the ground and tracks for the crane. It shows the dedication of the model railroaders, as these are just parts of the world around the train and its tracks. This gazebo with flags shows the patriotism of the inhabitants. But why is there a giant spider on top? Some sections of the track are designed for the holidays. This section is set up for Halloween. There are witches with their cauldron and spirits drinking spirits. A pumpkin patch lies in front of a mansion called the House of Wax. Next to that is an merry-go-round carousel. Here is a skull balloon ride that circles a cemetery below. A larger holiday-themed layout is in a separate room of the museum called the Toy Train Gallery. It's built mainly from the pure imagination of its creators, but has some parts based in reality. The room is kept slightly darker than the rest of the museum, making lighting effects more impactful and adds to the suspense of what may be discovered within. Each little section can be considered a diorama showing various events and activities. Trains travel at different speeds and carry a variety of characters associated with the holiday. This one has ghosts, flashing pumpkins, and bears dressed in costumes. As we examine the details of this part of the layout, we gather the time period to be the 1950s or 1960s, according to the cars, the clothing of the figurines, and the design of the restaurant here. If you look closely at the waitress in front of the parked car, you can see she's sliding along on roller skates. The Railway Express Agency is open for business and has little people moving around. We can see the workers loading and unloading packages, and also silhouettes of others performing tasks inside. A wedding is taking place, and the local car dealership is packed with new models to be sold. Of course, a train station must be featured in this layout. Did you know Waldo can be spotted somewhere here, too? The theater is playing Gone with the Wind, which came out in 1940. The advantage of breaking away from reality is having a 20-foot squirrel sitting in front of McDonald's. Lighting really brings things to life, providing movement for our eyes to see. The lights within each building gives us a sense of depth, showing us we're in a three-dimensional world. This section of town is dedicated to Halloween and requires a closer look to see what's going on. A cyclops tree stands in front of a pumpkin snowman with 4 skeletons near the railroad. Along with other mummies and ghosts, they have the Paranormal Corrections Facility behind them. Some tombstones tell of the afterlife, saying, "I told you I was sick," and "She only had a ghost of a chance." Snoopy rides the Great Pumpkin Transport, and the Grim Reaper has an ominous tombstone reading, "See you soon." Other tombstones are for Mrs. Anita Newbody and "I am not well." You have to be quick to examine the train cars on the Halloween Express, because once they leave the station, they are in motion for another trip around the Toy Train Gallery. Thomas the Tank Engine makes an appearance for the kids. There are other trains that can be controlled by guests with the push of a button. Batman and Robin scale the side of a building, while police officers are on the ground. One confronts the criminal on the roof. The brightly colored cars in front of the Super Chief Diner are a good contrast to the darker parts of the town's layout. In one corner, there are cabins in the woods, with people enjoying the quiet serenity of the lake on inner tubes and canoes. With the forest trees and painted mountains, it really does give a sense of being closer to nature, away from the distractions of the city. The trains have headlights to brighten the path through the darker areas of the layout. They give us the notion that a train engineer really is inside, driving the locomotive around. If you look to the right of this train passing by, you'll see what's called a 3-rail setup. The third center rail doesn't exist on traditional tracks. Some real-life modern tracks, however, do have a third rail in the middle or on the side. If you see a third rail, do not touch it. It's electrified and can be fatal if touched. In the model train world, the third rail makes for easier power delivery to the trains, allows for track looping, and activation of switches or other accessories around the layout. The Toy Train Gallery is run by the San Diego 3-Railers Club. The radar dish here may be able to pick up signals of the trains as they wind in and out of darkness from the mountains and come into the lights of town. There's a red sign with a fitting message that reads, "I love toy trains." If that comes from one of the figurines, then the tiny train going around this kid dressed as Batman must be the proper toy size for them. So many forms of transportation are in this town. Planes are waiting for takeoff. These women are lined up at the tower to board their flights. Cars are parked out front. The trolley is running back and forth, and a bus is ready to bring passengers into the city. It's always pleasing to view more nostalgic signage like these for Pepsi and A&W root beer. The great American pastime of baseball is recreated here, complete with bleachers and stadium lights. There's no shortage of emergency responders like ambulances, firefighters, and police to this high-rise building fire in the center of town. It looks like they're here to save the people, or the turkey stuck on the roof, or perhaps the pumpkin on the crane. As this train approaches, we see the realistic light blinding our vision for a brief moment. Did you know these lights serve a functional purpose as well? From here, we see quite a bit of the layout of the toy train gallery. There's a slow train idling by and a car circling a street. Look up at the top. See those monitors? There are actual live video feeds from the front of certain trains moving along the tracks. If you visit the website of the San Diego Three Railers Club after this video, you may be able to see a live camera feed from the front of one of the trains as it makes its way around the extensive layout of the toy train gallery. Earlier, we saw this poster with Smokey Bear. What famous American radio personality was born here in San Diego and always wore a similar ranger hat? You may know the answer if you listen to San Diego radio from the 1970s to the 1990s. If you guessed Shotgun Tom Kelly, you're right. Born Thomas Joseph Irwin, he saw a disc jockey doing a live radio show at a shopping center in Lemon Grove at the age of 10. The disc jockey saw young Tom's interest in the radio show and interviewed him on the air. From then, Shotgun Tom was fascinated with radio shows and went on to start his long career in broadcasting. Other than being born in San Diego and a famous member of the San Diego Model Railroad Museum, why does he have a cabinet showcasing him within the museum? Shotgun Tom's father, John G. Irwin Sr., was a railroad engineer for the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. In 1948, he was the engineer selected to bring President Harry Truman from Los Angeles to San Diego for a whistle-stop campaign. Shotgun Tom got the chance recently to drive the exact engine his father did for many years, the Santa Fe Super Chief 347C, with its signature red, gold, and silver color scheme. He was able to sit in the same seat, touch the same controls, and sample a little of what his father experienced so many decades ago. As for all of us, it's a comforting feeling to have a physical connection to someone even after they're gone. Shotgun Tom Kelly sometimes runs one of the model railroad layouts at the museum in person. Several industries that rely on rail transport around San Diego are represented here at the museum. The Tecate Brewery in Baja California was established in 1944. The San Diego and Arizona Eastern Railway offered tours to the brewery and also provided transit for its products for many years. The first large tuna cannery in San Diego was established back in 1911. It was called the Pacific Tuna Canning Company. Over the next decade, 9 more canneries would be started. Each and every one would depend on the rail system for distribution of their tuna across the country. Here's the National Meatpacking Building. It doesn't look good for the cows unless they can hop on a train on the tracks nearby. Safeway Foods are loading semi-trucks to deliver groceries to their supermarkets. Blue Star Cement is ready to roll out their product, and Union Ice has their delivery vehicles stocked. Transport across miles and miles of track meant some perishable foods needed refrigeration. Enter the icing platform. This raised covered platform allows for 300-pound ice blocks to be loaded into refrigeration cars pulled by a train engine. In earlier years, ice would have to be harvested from a nearby lake or river. Once ice could be manufactured, this process became more streamlined. Manpower was still needed to handle the bidents, or two-pronged spears, to maneuver the ice blocks into the roof hatches of each refrigeration car. A team of 6 experienced men could ice a car in 1.5 minutes. At that rate, a train of 40 cars could be iced in 1 hour. Icing platforms like the one in the background allowed railroad companies to carry perishable foods for longer durations across greater distances, eventually expanding across the United States. The museum has 2 different scale models of the Goat Canyon Trestle, the largest wooden trestle bridge in the world. It's 633 feet long by 185 feet high and located in southeast San Diego County at the southern end of Anza Borrego State Park. Hikers can be seen in the area. However, to reach Goat Canyon Trestle, people must cross through private property. A collapsed tunnel like the one on the left was the reason for building the Goat Canyon Trestle starting in 1932 and ending the following year. It was constructed of wood to resist temperature fluctuations which could cause metal to fatigue. The 14-degree curve was designed to combat the high winds observed to sweep through Goat Canyon. The trestle was used mainly by freight cars and also carried passenger trains up until 1951. After many repairs and closures, most rail traffic stopped using the Goat Canyon Trestle by 2008. In the small towns depicted here, people must need some form of recreation or entertainment, just like in real life. If you're financially set, you may own a mansion in the countryside with a pool. Many people enjoy watching movies, and the drive-in theater was a good option, officially patented in 1933. Drive-ins boasted 100-foot screens with a massive area for the picture. What about the audio? How would it be heard? In the beginning, wired speakers were hung on the car window, and the museum has a functional pair hanging just outside the display. Within San Diego County, there are still 2 existing drive-in theaters, one in Santee and one in South Bay. The drive-in theater is one of many things in the San Diego Model Railroad Museum that make us remember the past. From the port of San Diego and the grand views of America's finest city near the waterfront, layouts of the model railroads span across San Diego County, and let us see the greater picture in whichever direction the railroads may take us. The next time you're in Balboa Park, visit the San Diego Model Railroad Museum. It is a doorway into experiencing another form of transportation when you're not in a hurry and want to enjoy the ride. If you enjoyed this video, support and help this channel grow for free. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching San Diego Review.